Good morning, guys. In the last session, we discussed about what is start class in the Spring Boot and what is run method in the Spring Boot and the internals of that run method, right? Today, we are going to understand what is that Spring Boot application annotation and what is component scanning. I have given that a task and I am expecting some answers from you people. What is that Spring Boot application annotation and what is that component scanning? Yes, sir. What is component scanning? Okay, what is this annotation? Okay, sir, what is base package? Hmm. Okay, can I have more than one base package? Only one. Can I configure one more than one base package? Yes, we can do that. Yes, sir. What is component scanning? Okay, what is this annotation? Okay, good. Sit down. So in the last session, we created the boot application and we are able to execute that boot application, guys. So if you go through the topic before coming to the class, then you will have better understanding on the topic in the class. So when I give some assignment, you have to complete that before coming to the class. Definitely, I will ask the questions in the class. If you don't answer my questions, then I will not take the class. Now you have done some research on those topics. Now, if I explain those topics, you will get more clarity. You will get the more clarity. If you come to the class with a blank mind, there is no use. Now you know something. What is component scanning? What is that annotation? Now I will explain the same topic. Then you will have better understanding on the topic. You will learn more subject. So we need to follow the same pattern till end of the course. So what I am going to discuss tomorrow, I will give that as an assignment. You need to do some research in the Google, YouTube, ChatGPT, so many platforms available. So research, prepare some notes before coming to the class. This is applicable for both offline as well as online students also. All right. Now, we created our Spring Boot application and we are able to see one Java class available by default in the Spring Boot application. The Java class which is available by default in the Spring Boot application is called as start class. Inside the start class, main method is available. Inside the main method, we are calling run method. Inside that run method, lot of logic is available. It will start the timer, it will create the context, load the listeners, start the listeners, prepare the environment, create application context, and refresh the IOC container, stop the timer, calculate the time taken and print on the console, then call the runners, return the IOC object. Finally, run method is returning IOC object for us in the form of configurable application context. So banner will be printed and we have seen how to work with the banner and we have seen how IOC container will be started. Okay. Based on the starter, IOC container will be started. Banner means the logo which is printing. You can customize the banner. You can stop the banner also. The return type of the run method, configurable application context, which is a IOC container. Now, runner. So in your project, if you want to execute any logic only one time, when the project is started, if you want to execute the logic only one time, then we will go for runner concept. So we have not implemented runner as of now. In the coming classes, we will work with the runner. Then internals of the run method, we understood. Next one. So let us see here how to represent Java class as Spring Bean. How to represent one Java class as a Spring Bean. If you go for Spring Framework, there is a XML file. In the XML, we will configure Java class as a Spring Bean. But when you are going for Spring Boot, there are several annotations available. By using those annotations, we will represent our Java class as Spring Bean. Now, there is one annotation called @component annotation is available. There is an annotation called @service available. There is an annotation called @repository available. And there is an annotation called @configuration is available. There is an annotation called @bean available. There is an annotation called controller available. There is an annotation called rest controller is available. If you want to represent one Java class as a Spring Bean, then we can use any one of this annotation. Only this bean annotation is special annotation, guys. This annotation is called as method level annotation. All the remaining annotations we are going to use at the class level. Only the bean annotation we are going to use at the method level. So by using these annotations, we can represent our Java class as a Spring Bean. How to represent Java class as a Spring Bean? We can use below annotations. We can use below annotations to represent Java class as Spring Bean. Okay. Spring Bean classes lifecycle will be taken care by IOC container. So you no need to create the object for the Spring Bean. If you represent your Java class as a Spring Bean, IOC container will create the object for the Spring Bean. So to represent that class as a Spring Bean, we are going to use these annotations. Can you read the annotations now? Component, service, repository, configuration, bean, controller, rest controller. So once again, what are the annotations available? Come on, component, service, repository, configuration, bean, controller, rest controller. Come on, tell me. Component, service, repository, configuration, bean, controller, rest controller. All these annotations are class level annotations. At the class level, you can write the annotations. Only bean is a method level annotation. Only bean is the method level annotation. Now, so I have my project. So in this project, we are having main method, that is the start class of the Spring Boot. Inside this main method, we are calling run method. Run method is the entry point for boot application execution. Now, so when you create the project, by default, start class is created. That start class is available in one package, in.ashokit, that is my package name. So in which package your start class is available, that package is called as base package. That package is called as base package. So in which package your start class is available, that package is called base package. This package naming convention, very, very important in the Spring Boot. If you use different names for the packages, that is not a recommended approach. You need to follow some standard when you are creating the packages. Now, so if you see, my base package is in.ashokit. Inside this package, I have my start class with a name called application.java. Entry point for the application. When you are creating other packages in the project, you need to follow this standard. Every package name should start with the base package name only. My base package is in.ashokit. Now I want to create the DAO. In.ashokit. in.ashokit.dao. Now, I want to create one service package. Then we need to follow in.ashokid.service. I want to create some security package in.ashokid.security. Suppose if I create a com.ashokit.util, no, it is not following my base package naming convention. My base package is in.ashokit. My base package is in.ashokit. If you use the com.ashokit, that is not a correct package naming convention. So you need to follow proper naming convention when you are creating the packages in the project. Are you clear? And I have seen in the previous batches, so many people will do this mistake only. They will not create the packages correctly. They will give different names for the packages. If you give different names, your project will not work properly. So one of the main important rules that you need to keep in the mind, when you are working with boot application, package naming convention is very important. What is the base package? What is the sub package that you need to understand? Your base package can be anything. You can give any name for the base package, but the remaining packages should start with the base package name only. Suppose if I give base package as com.oracle, that is fine, no problem. Then the remaining packages also you need to write like this: com.oracle.dao, com.oracle.service, com.oracle.security, com.oracle.util. This is the rule that we need to follow when we are developing our applications by using Spring Boot. Is this clear? Right. Now, what is the advantage? If you follow this naming convention, we will understand in the component scanning. Let me go here. I'm creating one Java class. I'm creating one Java class in the base package. In.ashokit, I'm taking the class with a name called car. Finish. Car class is created. Let me write one constructor, which is a 0-param constructor. System.out.println. I'm taking this as car constructor. Car constructor. Okay, fine. Class is available. Let me run my project. Run as Java application or Spring Boot application. Now can you see car constructor executed or not executed? Not executed. Car is a Java class. Car is a normal Java class, or car is a Spring Bean class? Normal Java class. So it is not a Spring Bean. How to represent that as a Spring Bean? Annotations available. Let me use one annotation called @component. I'm using annotation called @component. Now run this application, run as boot application. Now can you see? Car object is created or not? Who is creating the car object? Programmer is creating or IOC creating? IOC container creating the object for the car, because car is represented as a Spring Bean. So by using component annotation, we are representing Java class as a Spring Bean. Spring Bean classes will be managed by IOC container. If you represent your Java class as a Spring Bean, then those Java classes will be managed by IOC container. Okay, fine. Now let me create one more Java class, new class. Now I'm using package name as a DAO. Okay, user DAO. So if you see in.ashokit base package .dao I am using user DAO. Finish. Now let us write one 0-param constructor here. Let us write one 0-param constructor. So system.out.println user DAO constructor. I'm just specifying. Now this is a Java class or it is a Spring Bean now. User DAO. Normal Java class or Spring Bean now? Normal Java class. I want to represent that as a Spring Bean. Annotation. I'm using @component. Component is a class level annotation. We are writing on top of the class. When I say class level, we will write on top of the class. If I say method level, we will write on top of the method. Are you clear? Good. Now, so let me run this application now. Run as boot application. See the console. car object is created, DAO object also created. Now let me create one more Java class, new class. I will keep the package service, in.ashokid.service. So let me take the class name as user service. Same, zero param constructor for understanding whether object is created or not. System.out.println, system.out.println, and I will specify user service constructor. I want to make it as a Spring Bean at the rate component. At the rate component. Go to the start class and run this. Run as boot application. Can you see all the three objects got created? That means here in our application, component scanning is working. My classes are available. I'm representing the classes as the Spring Beans. Those classes are available in different packages. But IOC container going through all the packages, it is identifying which class is a Spring Bean, and for that class, it is creating the object also. That is called as component scanning. Component scanning is the process of identifying Spring Beans available in the project and load those Spring Beans and create the objects for those Spring Beans. That is called component scanning. So now, suppose if I create one Java class, assume that I'm creating a class called email service, but I'm using different package name, com.oracle, com.oracle.utils. I'm creating one class email service. Now, write one constructor. So system.out.println, which is email service constructor. Email service constructor. Let me use component. What is the purpose of component? To represent this class as a run as boot application. For email service, object is created or object is not created? For email service, object is not created. Why object is not created for the email service? Why object is not created for the email service? Come on. Come on. That package is not following the naming convention. That package is not following the naming convention. So now I have a base package called in.ashokit. All the remaining packages also should start with the in.ashokit. Then only component scanning will happen. Otherwise, component scanning will not happen. Okay, this package will be scanned. What about this DAO? Will scan or will be scanned? Will not be scanned. Will be scanned. Why this package also will be scanned? Because it is starting with the base package name. What about this service package? This package also will be scanned because it is following the base package. What about this security? What about this security? This also will be scanned. What about this com.oracle? Will not be scanned. Now you understand the importance of the package name. So in the Spring Boot, by default, component scanning process is available to identify the bean classes. In a project, there are so many Java classes available. Those Java classes we are representing as Spring Bean by using these annotations. Now, so what is component scanning? How to represent Java class as a Spring Bean? We understood. Next one, the Spring Bean classes will be managed by IOC container. Next topic, what is component scanning? So can anyone tell me the definition for component scanning? What is the definition for the component scanning? It is the process of scanning the packages to identify Spring Bean classes in the project. It is the process of identifying Spring Beans available in the project. Available in the project. It is the process of identifying Spring Beans available in the project. Component scanning will start from base package. Component scanning will start from base package. What is a base package? The package which contains start class. That package is called as a base package. So when you run your boot application, component scanning will happen from the base package. Which package is called as a base package? The package which contains start class is called as a base package. Once base package scanning completed, once base package scanning completed, then it will go for sub packages of base package. What is the meaning of sub package of the base package? Packages which are starting with the base package name. So when we can say one package is a sub package of the base package, any package name which is starting with a base package is called as sub package. Now if you see in .ashok IT, in this package my start class is available. So this is considered as a base package. That base package will be scanned. The next one, DAO, that is starting with the base package name. So it is called as a sub package. This package also will be scanned. The next one, in.ashok.service. This is also a sub package because it is starting with the base package name. This package also will be scanned. And in.ashok.security. This also sub package will be scanned. But what about com.oracle.util? No. This is not a sub package, so this package will not participate in the component scanning. So what is component scanning? The process of identifying Spring Beans available in the project. Component scanning will start from where? From the base package. Which package is called as a base package? The package which contains a start class is called base package. Once base package scanning is completed, then it will go for sub packages of the base package. Which package is called as a sub package of the base package? Any package name which is starting with the base package is called as sub package. Example. So in.ashok IT, base package. These all are sub packages. But com.oracle, it is not a sub package. So even though the email service class is represented as a Spring Bean, object is not creating. Why the object is not creating? This package will not participate in the component scanning. Are you able to follow me? Right. Now, let me create one more package. New package. in.ashokid.utils. in.ashokid.utils. Package is created. In this package, I am creating a class with a name called dateutils. Now, so in this dateutils, I will write one constructor, dateutils. System.out.println, dateutils constructor. Dateutils constructor. Now, for this dateutils, object will be created or object will not be created? Will be created or will not be created? Will not be created because it is not a Spring Bean. It is following the package name, but this is not a Spring Bean. So it should follow the package naming convention, and that class should be represented as a Spring Bean. How to represent a class as a Spring Bean? Component, service, repository, configuration, bean, controller, REST controller. There are 7 annotations available to represent one Java class as a Spring Bean. 6 annotations are class level annotations. 1 annotation is a method level annotation. What is a method level annotation? Come on. What is method level annotation? Bean. What is the meaning of bean? What is the meaning of @bean? It is a method level annotation. Let's talk about that. Okay. So before going to do that, you got the clarity. What is component scanning and why we are going for component scanning? What is component scanning? Component scanning is the process of identifying Spring Bean classes available in the project. Now, currently in my project, there is one base package which is in.ashok.it, that is the default base package. Wherever the start class is available, that is called as default base package. You want to configure more than one base package. We want to configure more than one base package. You can do that. @component scan. @component scan base packages is equal to as a array we are going to specify. So my base package is in.ashok.it. Another base package I want to take com.oracle. Right? So like this, you can override the default functionality. The default functionality is only one base package, but I want to represent more than one base package. Now observe, go to the start class. I have configured component scan annotation, base package in.ashok.it, com.oracle. Now all these two packages will be scanned. Let's run this application. Run as boot application. Now you can see email service. Executed or not executed? Executed. Where is the email service available? Where is the email service available? Inside the com.oracle. So this package participated in the component scanning, not participated in the component scanning. Participated because I configured that also as a base package. So can we configure more than one base package in the Spring Boot? Yes. So we can configure more than one base package in the Spring Boot using component scan annotation. Note, we can configure more than one base package using @component scan annotation like below. You can configure more than one base package by using component scan annotation like below. Suppose if I don't use this annotation, is it mandatory to write this annotation? Component scanning, is it mandatory to write the annotation or not mandatory to write the annotation? Mandatory. If I don't write, anything will happen. Only default behavior. It will go with the default behavior. In the default behavior, one base package available. I want two base packages, three base packages. Then you need to write the annotation at the class level. @component scan base packages is equal to in.ashok.it, any other package that you want. But is it recommended to write the packages with the different names and configure them as the base packages? No. What is the recommended approach? Follow the standard. What is the recommended approach? Follow the standard. You take only one base package. Then you follow the same package name for the remaining packages also. Suppose if you create like this, will anybody accept it? One package I am creating com.example, com.example.dao. Another package I am creating in.ashok.it.service. Another package I am creating com.tcs.util. Another package com.oracle.utils. Is it recommended to write the packages like this? You can configure multiple base packages, but will anybody create the package names like this in the project? No. What we need to do? Standard. Standard we need to follow. So if your base package is this, then you create the remaining pages like this. Remaining packages like this. Follow the base package naming convention. Follow the base package naming convention when we are creating other packages in the project. Will anybody recommend to create the packages like this? No, it's not at all recommended. Okay, don't do like this. Whenever you develop Spring Boot application, you check packages what you are creating. What is your base package? Remaining packages are starting with the base package name or not, you have to check it. Suppose if I keep base package as in.ashok.it.demo, then what I need to do? The remaining packages also in.ashok.it.demo.dao, in.ashok.it.demo.service. Whatever the name is available, same name you need to follow for the other packages also. then only component scanning will happen for your package. If your package name is not following the proper syntax, proper naming convention, your package will not be scanned, your classes will not be considered as a Spring Bean. Are you clear with my point? Yes, good. Now, so we understood what is base package and what is sub package for the base package. Perfect. Now here guys, in .ashok ID, I'm going to give this as a base package now. This is my base package. Click on continue. Go to the application.java. I'm removing this. So with this, by default, only one base package will be available. That will be available at the start class. All right, good. Now, here if you observe, for all these classes, I'm using one annotation. What is the annotation I'm using? Come on. Component annotation I am using. What is the purpose of this component annotation? What is the purpose of component annotation? I want to represent my Java class as a Spring Bean. Now you see, car object created, DAO object created, service object, utils object. All the 4 classes objects got created. Who is creating the objects now? IOC container. IOC container creating the object. IOC container managing the objects. IOC container creating the object. IOC container managing the objects also. Now, if you use these annotations, something like this, component or service or repository or controller, REST controller configuration, whenever you use these annotations, class level annotation, IOC container will create the object. So you just write one annotation at the class level. IOC container will create the object for your class, will represent your class as a Spring Bean. Okay, but my requirement is I don't want IOC container to create the object for my class. I want to create the object on my own. I have a special requirement. I want to customize my object creation. If you use @component by default, IOC will create the object by using default constructor. But I don't want that. I want to create the object for the class on my own. Okay, so I have a special requirement. I have a special requirement to create the object for my class. Then we are going to use @bean annotation. Okay, first you understand what is a component and what is a class level annotation. What is component? What is a component? What is component? Component is a class level annotation that is used to represent our Java class as a Spring Bean. Is this clear? Any questions? No. And from tomorrow, we are starting real-time tools, guys. You are struggling with Maven. People are getting a lot of doubts in the Maven. Going forward, we need to use the GitHub repository for the code integration. We need to implement a logging in the project. Some tools are required for the developers, right? So from tomorrow, I'm going to explain those tools in the project batch. Maven, GitHub, logging. Next 1 week, you have the class at morning 7 o'clock also. Okay, in that morning 7 o'clock class, 7 to 8:30 online class will be available. In that class, I'm going to explain Maven tool. What is Maven? How to work with Maven? What is the GitHub? How to work with the GitHub? What is the logging? How to implement logging in the project? Those are 3 tools I'm going to explain in the morning session. From tomorrow, it is going to start. 1 week will be there. We are going to spend 1 week of time to learn those tools. I will share that Zoom link in our WhatsApp group. So you need to attend those classes from tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be starting the Maven. Okay, it is an online class. So 7 to 8:30 that class will be there. Once it is completed, then you come for the 9:30 offline class. Is this okay? Good, fine. Don't miss the tools, guys. As I told you, tools I will explain over the weekends. Anyhow, I'm explaining for the project batch people so that we can save the time. So you can attend the class morning 7 to 8:30 for tools, only 1 week of time. 1 week or 10 days of time maximum. 1 week to 10 days, those tools will be completed. Then we will go with the regular classes only. So that Sunday you can take some rest and you can do the practice. All right, good. So we are understanding what is component. Component is a class level annotation. Component is a class level annotation. So when you use this at the class level, IOC container creating the object for the class. IOC container will use our zero param constructor only, and it is going to create the object. You no need to write the logic to create the object. But in the real time, when we are working in the project development, multiple classes will be available. For example, user DAO, user service, user DAO, user service, user controller. Like this, multiple classes will be available. Those classes, I want IOC to create the object. I don't have any problem. But there is a requirement. I want to implement security in the project. App security will be available. Security, IOC container don't know what security required for my project. Are you getting my point? If it is a normal DAO, normal service, normal controller, IOC can create the object. By default, you go and create the object with the default constructor. I don't have any problem. But coming to the security, security is a common for everybody. Security will change from project to project. Security is customized based on the project requirement. Some people want to go with basic security. Some people want to go with OAuth security. Some people want to go with JWT security. Some people want to use some different security technique. Key clock they want to use. OpenID they want to use. LDAP security they want to use. So project to project, security configurations will be different. Okay. Now creating the object for the DAO, creating the object for the service, creating the object for the controller, that is common for everybody. You just go and create the object by using new operator. You use a zero param constructor, you create the object. But coming to security, can IOC decide the security for our project, or programmer should decide the security for the project? Programmer should decide the security for the project. Now here, for these classes, let IOC create the object by default. For these classes, IOC should create the object. But for the security class, I don't want IOC to create the object. I will create the object. IOC should take my object and consider that as a Spring Bean. So if IOC is creating the object directly, they are Spring Beans only. But here, my requirement is, I have customization. I need customization for the security in the project. So security class available. For this security class, I will create the object. That object should be considered as a Spring Bean. Then we are going to use @bean. Okay. If you want IOC to create the object directly, then you can go for @component. @component is a class level annotation. @bean is a method level annotation. When you need to go for component, if you want IOC to create the object, hey IOC, you create the object, you manage my object, then go for component. But my requirement is IOC should not create my object. I will create the object. I have a requirement. I want to customize. I will create the object. That object I will give to IOC. IOC should take my object, should recognize as a Spring Bean. If you have such a kind of requirement to create objects with your own logic, then you need to go for @bean annotation. Component and bean, both are different. Component means class level. Bean means method level. Component means IOC will create the object. Bean means programmer will create the object. Are you getting my point? The difference between component and bean? What is the difference between component and bean? Both are used to represent the classes as a Spring Beans only. But what is the difference? Component is a class level, bean is a method level. If you use a component, IOC will create the object. If you use bean, programmer will create the object. In both scenarios, Spring Beans will be available. Are you clear? When to use our own object? When to create the object on our own? According to the project requirement, I want to customization. I want to customize my object. Then you go for bean method. If you don't need any customization, just you want the object, then go for component as a class level. Are you able to follow this? Now, so I'm going to create one Java class. Let me use one package, new class in.ashokid.security. I'm taking the package name app security. App security. So here I'm writing one constructor public app security. Okay. System.out.println app security constructor. For this, I will write some private string algorithm. Security algorithm, what you want. Then I will take this as security algorithm. Then I will use this dot algorithm is equal to algorithm. So to do the security implementation, I need the security algorithm. I'm expecting that algorithm as a parameter. If I write a component, what is the problem? IOC container should create the object. Does IOC know what algorithm I want? Does IOC know what algorithm I want? So IOC should create my object. IOC should not create my object. IOC should not create. If you go for car, there is no particular requirement. Let IOC call this constructor to create the object. Let's go for DAO. There is nothing specific here. Let IOC create the object. Service, there is nothing specific. IOC can create. Date utils, nothing specific. IOC can create. But security, I want algorithm. So algorithm will be decided by programmer, not by the IOC. So I don't want IOC to create the object. Okay. So that's why I have removed that component. Now it is a Spring Bean or it is a normal Java class. App security is a Spring Bean or normal Java class? It is a normal Java class. What is the difference between normal Java class and Spring Bean? What is the difference between normal Java class and Spring Bean? Any Java class which is managed by IOC container is called as a Spring Bean. Creating the object, allocating the resources, destroying the object, dependency injections will be taken care by IOC container. Are you clear? Good. Now, app security is not a Spring Bean. So object will be created or object will not be created. Why? It is a normal Java class. Package name is correct. In.ashoka.security. Base package naming convention is there. But this class is not a Spring Bean. Run the application. Run as boot application. Go to the console. Security object created or not created? Not created. Security object not created. Fine. Now, I want to create the security object. Let me write one method, public app security, create instance. Create instance. Then app security is equal to new app security algorithm, AES algorithm I want to use. Then I'm going to return security object. What is the purpose of this method now? Come on. What is the purpose of this method now? What this method is doing? What is the logic in the method? Look at that. Look at that. What is the logic in that method? I am creating the object and I am returning the object. Now, I want IOC container to call my method. If anybody call this method, what they will get? Security object. So I am customizing my security. I'm setting my own algorithm. Now IOC container should call my method. Method name can be anything. You can write M1, M2 also, no problem. Okay. So create app security object. Create app security. So anybody who call this method, they will get the security object as a return type. Now, I want IOC container to call the method, take the object, represent that object as a Spring Bean. So earlier for car, who is creating the object? IOC only. But for app security, who is creating the object? Programmer. Then you write @bean. You write @bean. Then what will happen? IOC container will call this method. It will take our object. It will represent that object as a Spring Bean object. Now, let us see this. This method are called or not. System.out.println security app method called. Just for understanding. Now, let me run this. Run as boot application. Okay. Security method called or not called? That means app security object is created. IOC creating the object or programmer creating the object? So here, when you go for @component annotation, that is a class level. On top of the class, you will write the annotation. IOC container will create the object. But in some scenarios in the project, we don't want IOC container to create the object. We should create the object on our own. Okay, then we will write a method. For that method, we will use @bean. Inside that method, you write the logic to create the object. You return the object. Who will call this method? IOC container will call this method. And it will take our object. It will represent our object as a Spring Bean object. Is this clear? Component and bean difference. Component is a class level. IOC will create the object by default. Bean is a method level. Programmer will create the object. IOC will call our method. If I don't write this bean annotation, it is a normal method. Who will call this method? No. Now let us see. I'm writing the method, creating the object, returning the object. Let us see IOC will call or not. Run as boot application. IOC calling or not calling? No, not calling. So if you have a method to create the object, IOC, if you IOC want to call your method, you write the bean annotation. This is called customization, object customization. Some objects I want to create by IOC container. Some objects I will create according to my requirement. When you want customization, you create the object, you use bean method. Bean method. Right. Now, so in the project, these kind of bean methods can be multiple. These kind of bean methods will be multiple. So 20, 30, kind of 40 beans we need to customize. Security, Kafka, database, Redis, like that. Lot of requirements will be available in the real time where we need to customize our bean objects. Instead of writing bean methods in the start class, instead of writing bean methods in the start class, in the real time, we will create one separate Java class with a name called config. We'll create one class called config. We will take it as app config. I'm taking one Java class. Where is this Java class available? In.ashok IT. Package naming convention. Am I following or not? In.ashok IT base package, config package. So the class, it is Java class. I want to use this Java class for configuration in the project. Any Java class we are using for configuration, we will represent that as a configuration class. What is the annotation, guys? What is the annotation? Configuration. What is the purpose of configuration? What is the purpose of configuration annotation? To represent your Java class as a configuration class, Java based configuration. Annotation configuration is available. Now I am going for Java based configuration. Earlier we have XML. Now we have Java class. Any beans you want to customize, any bean methods you want to write, you can write in the start class. If I write in the start class, working or not working? Working. But it is always recommended you take it from the start class and you keep them in the configuration class. Okay, so that people can easily understand, all the customized beans will be available in the configuration class. Your start class also a configuration class only. That is the reason when I write a bean method in the start class, it is working. But it's not recommended to write in the start class. You create a separate configuration class to write your bean methods. How to represent our Java class as a configuration class? Come on. How to represent our Java class as a configuration class? At the rate configuration. Now in the interview, they will ask a question. Can you explain what is a configuration? What is at the rate bean? What is at the rate configuration? What is at the rate bean? Can you tell me now? At the rate configuration is a annotation which is used to represent our Java class as a configuration class. To represent Java class as a configuration class. What we will write in the configuration class? Bean methods. What will be there in the configuration class? Bean methods. What is the meaning of a bean method? To create the object for the Java class and represent that object as a Spring Bean. Are you clear? Component, configuration, bean. Can anyone explain? Component, configuration, bean. Yeah, stand up. Tell me. That is right. Component is a class level annotation. When you use the annotation at the class level, IOC container will create the object. Next one. To Configuration class is used to define the bean methods. Simple. Configuration class is used to define bean methods, right? So to represent our Java class as a configuration class, we will use at the rate configuration annotation. Inside the configuration class, we will define bean methods. Bean methods are used to customize the bean object creation. Programmer will create the object. IOC container will call the method if you have the annotation as at the rate bean. Is this clear? Now, so let me show you in the real time where we are going to use this bean annotations. Yeah. So I have implemented one project, Spring Boot security, registration and login functionality. Go to this project, which is there in the GitHub. So if you attend the GitHub classes, then you will understand how to work with the Git repositories. All right. SRC, main, okay. Then Java.Ashok ID package available. Can you see what is this? Config package. What is this class? App security config. Now, what is the annotation? What is the meaning of at the rate configuration? What is the meaning of at the rate configuration? To represent our Java class as a configuration class. To represent our Java class as a configuration class. Now scroll down. What is this? What is this? Bean. What is the logic in the bean? Password encoder. Which encoding technique we need to use to encrypt our password in the database, right? We are using bcrypt password. IOC container creating the object, programmer creating the object. IOC container will call the method. Now, can you see what is this? Bean. What is the logic? Programmer creating the object and setting the data and returning the object. What is this? IOC container will call the method. I am returning the authentication manager here. Then what is this one? Security filter. So all this is the customization I am doing for the security and I am returning the filter chain, IOC container should call our method. So in the real time, there are so many places we are going to use bean methods. For all in the project, if 1000 classes available, all the 1000 classes, we don't want IOC to create the object. For 950 to 970 classes, IOC will create the object. That 20 to 30 classes will be available where we need to customize the logic. Their programmer will create the object. When programmer want to create the object, we will go for bean method. All the bean methods we will keep in the configuration class. Start class also a configuration class, but it's not recommended to keep the bean methods in the start class. You create a separate configuration class. You keep your bean methods in the configuration class. So to represent our class as a configuration class, we will use @configuration annotation. Are you able to follow me? Yes, perfect. So with this, what we understood today, we discussed about how to represent Java class as a Spring Bean. By using these annotations, we can represent our Java class as a Spring Bean. I have not explained these two. I explained only component. Component is a class level annotation to represent Java class as a Spring Bean. Then configuration we discussed to represent Java class as configuration class. Java class as configuration class, and bean, which is method level annotation. Controller, REST controller, MVC topics. When you go for web MVC, then you will understand what is a controller and what is REST controller. Spring Bean classes will be managed by IOC container. What is a component scanning? It is the process of identifying Spring Beans available in the project. Component scanning will start from base package. What is a base package? The package which contains the start class is called as base package. The package which contains the start class is called as base package. Once base package is scanning completed, then it will go for sub packages of the base package. Any package name which is starting with the base package is called as sub package. So this is the example. This particular package will not participate in the component scanning. So we can configure more than one base package using component scan annotation like below. That is possible. We can do that. Now, so component DA1 security. What is @bean? Okay. What is @bean? It is method level annotation which is used to customize bean objects creation. Okay. It is method level annotation. It is used to customize bean object creation. Bean object creation. Right. Now, this is the syntax. It is a method level annotation. It is used to customize bean object creation. Bean methods, it is recommended to keep the bean methods in the configuration class. It is recommended to keep bean methods in configuration class. Spring Boot start class also acts as configuration class. You can keep the bean methods in the start class also because that is also a configuration class. But instead of keeping all of them in the start class, we are going to take a separate configuration class. In that class, we are going to keep our bean methods. Is this clear? Yes. If you don't write this one, no, it will not consider that. So whenever you are writing a bean method, that method should be in the Spring Bean class only. If you don't write the configuration annotation, this class is a normal Java class. Now, this class will not participate in the component scanning. Now, if I remove this, I'm writing the bean method, but this class is a normal Java class. If you write component, it will work. Now see, security object is created or not created. That means when you are writing a bean method, that method should be available in the Spring Bean class only. If you write @component also, that will work. That also will work. No problems. Check it. Now the security object is, that means whatever the bean method you are writing, you need to keep them in the Spring Bean only. Okay. Instead of writing that as a bean, as it is for customization, recommended to keep it as a configuration. That's it. నాకు అర్థం కాలేదు. So it's not recommended, sir. It's not recommended. Nobody will develop the classes without package name. You have to create the packages. Okay. Don't use the default packages. Create the package. Same. Guys, you understand what is the configuration and what is bean? What is configuration and what is bean? Configuration is a class. Any Java class you want to use for configuration purpose, you can use @configuration annotation. Any class object you want to customize, then go for bean method. Bean method you can keep in the start class. You can keep in the configuration class. You can keep in any Spring Bean class also. That's fine. Recommended is to keep in the configuration class. Now, so with this knowledge, now if we go to this annotation, now you will understand easily. Okay. So our main focus is to understand this annotation now. Spring Boot application annotation. So if you open this annotation is equal to 3 annotations, guys. This annotation is equal to 3 annotations. What are those? Spring Boot configuration, nothing but configuration only. So it is a configuration class. Our start class is represented as a configuration class. That's why you can write the bean methods in the start class. What is the next annotation? Enable auto configuration. We already discussed. What is auto configuration? What is auto configuration? What is auto configuration? Come on. What is auto configuration? Based on the starters available, Boot will identify configuration required for the project and it will provide that configuration. What is the component scan? The process of identifying the packages, the process of identifying the Spring Bean classes available in the project is called as component scanning. Component scanning will start from the base package, which is called as a base package. The package which contains the start class is called as a base package. After the base package scanning is completed, then it will go for sub packages of the base package. After the base package is completed, it will go for sub packages of the base package. Is this clear? Now, can we configure more than one base package also? Yes, that is possible. You can configure more than one base package. Which one is recommended? Single base package is recommended. Follow the naming conventions for the packages properly. So I hope you got the clarity. What is the purpose of this annotation? What is Spring Boot application annotation? No, sir. There should be only one start class. What is @Spring Boot application annotation? What is @Spring Boot application annotation? All right. Now, this is used at start class of the Spring Boot. This is used at start class of the Spring Boot. This annotation is equal to below 3 annotations. What are those? @Spring Boot configuration, @enable auto configuration, @component scan. Right. We know what is configuration. That is a Java class which will represent the as a configuration class. Inside that class, we can write the bean method. Enable auto configuration. Based on the POM starters, boot will identify configuration required for the application. Component scanning. It is the process of identifying Spring Beans available in the project and create the object for those classes. IOC container will manage those classes. Is this clear? Any confusion? No. Spring Boot configuration is equal to @configuration. Annotations. No, @interface means it is a annotation. These all are framework annotations. Framework, not our annotations. These all are provided by Spring Framework. So if you open this annotation, then you will understand they are in which package. Spring Boot application, this annotation is available in this package, auto configure package. If you go inside that annotation, boot configuration, auto configuration, and component scanning. Component scanning is the annotation which is available in this package. These all are framework annotations provided by Spring Boot. Now, you understand the story behind this start class now? I think 2 to 3 days, from last 2 days, we are understanding what is this start class only. But for looking, only one line of code is available, one annotation is available. But so many things are happening in the background. Run method, it is doing lot of activities. That is abstraction for the programmer. And boot application annotation, so many things are working in the background. Abstraction for the programmer. Boot application annotation will be used at the start class. That annotation is equal to 3 annotations. Boot configuration, auto configuration, component scanning. Run method. It will start the IOC container. It will print the banner. It will call the runners. It will start the listeners. Finally, it will return the object of the IOC container. Are you clear? Any confusion? No. Next one. Once we get the object of this run method return type, control1 enter. If I use the control1 enter, that is going to give me configurable application context. Once I got this object, then I can get the beans and I can call the methods of the beans also. We already know what is the get bean method, right? Which is used to get the object of the bean. Bean object we can get by using this one, and with that we can call our methods also. Are you clear? Good. Now, tomorrow, before coming to tomorrow's session, I want you people to analyze one concept called bean scopes. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about a concept called bean scopes concept. So you need to do some analysis on bean scopes concept, and you need to do some analysis on bean life cycle concept. Tomorrow we are going to discuss about bean scopes and bean life cycle. So you need to do some research. In my YouTube, my videos are not there. You need to go through the Google, search ChatGPT, you analyze what are the bean scopes available and what is bean life cycle. I will ask those questions first, then I will start the session. You need to do self-learning. What is bean scope in the Spring Boot and what is bean life cycle in the Spring Boot. In the tomorrow session, I will explain those topics. Clear? Good. Any questions, anyone? There is no much difference, sir. It is just for readability only. Component means it is a Java class which will contain the logic. Configuration means only bean methods will be available. Other than that, there is no difference. That is just to readability, to segregate. That's it. You can use it, but no, not recommended. This annotation should be available at the start class, basically. Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? By default, it is using only default constructor. If you want parameterized constructor, then different approaches are there. We will discuss that in the coming classes. So another 1 week, we are going to work on the Spring Boot basic parts only. I need to explain what is service, what is repository, what is auto wiring, what is the dependency injection. So many topics are left. We'll discuss another 1 week of time. By this weekend, we'll try to complete the concepts of the Spring Boot. All these concepts will be addressed. Able to follow me? Clear? Any questions? No. So from tomorrow, 7 o'clock, tools class will be available for you. You need to join morning at 7 o'clock. I will share that link in the WhatsApp group. All of you joined in the WhatsApp group. For online people, one group is available. For offline people, one group is available. You will get the link by today evening. I will share the link. Tomorrow morning, sharp 7 o'clock, class will start. Maven, I will start tomorrow. Thank you.